Hey guys, so I got a very good question, and it's a question about mindset. He said, I play a sport, and every time I make a mistake, I talk bad about myself. My question is, am I too hard on myself, or is it good that I'm trying my best? It's gotten to the point where every time I do something, I always find something bad, and I'm always mad at myself for not being perfect. I don't think it's healthy, but at the same time, I think it's not okay to be satisfied with doing these mistakes? This is a very good question because I actually think it's much better to be too hard on yourself than too easy on yourself. The only negative that I see from this is that you talk bad about yourself. You talk bad about yourself instead of saying, let's, for example, saying, okay, I fucked that up. There's no reason I should fuck that up. I need to practice more. There's no reason I should have done that. There's no reason I should have made that mistake. Okay, how do I make sure that that mistake never happens again? How do I make sure I never do it wrong again? That is much better than saying, bro, I'm a dummy. I can't believe I did that. You need to think about it in solution oriented. I think it's good that you're trying to be perfectionist. I think it's good that you nitpick and that you care whenever you fuck up at something. I think that's good. I don't think that's being too hard on yourself. I think it's very hard to be too hard on yourself. I think the important thing is that when you're hard on yourself, you are doing it productively. When you're hard on yourself, when you failed at something, you say, okay, what can I do to make sure I do not fail again? And it's you being hard on yourself and yourself caring that will make it so that you actually do whatever it takes to make it so that next time you don't fail. Whether it's more practice, I don't know. Let's say if it's soccer, maybe you need to perfect that kick. Like if you missed that kick, why don't you go practice that kick 500 times then the next day? Like don't tell yourself you're stupid or you're dumb or I'm weak or like make it constructive. Make it actually something to where there's an outcome. Like missing that shot just made it so you do 500 of those shots and now you're a better shooter, right? Like now you're better at soccer. That's what it needs to be. You need to make sure the problem most people have when they're very, very hard on themselves is they don't make it constructive. They don't make it so that they're hard on themselves, but they're hard on finding a solution. That's the key. You need to find the solution. You need to think, okay, that happened. How do I make sure that never happens again? That's the key. It's not about being easy on yourself. I don't think being easy on yourself will help you. It's about when you're hard on yourself, how are you hard on yourself? You want to make sure that you're not hard on yourself in a way that it's not even helping you. Like you want to make sure that when you're hard on yourself, it's good. There's an innate advantage to always thinking that, okay, that wasn't perfect. What could I do better? Because if you don't care about being perfect, then you'll never be perfect. You'll never get as close to perfect as possible. That won't happen if you don't care. So it's important that you care. Now you just need to make sure that you don't care and use that emotion of caring in a negative way. It's like every single emotion that exists, you want to make sure that you're channeling it positively. If you're angry at yourself, good. But don't be angry at yourself and think, okay, I'm a dummy, and then just be mad. Oh, I'm gonna do 20 shots of tequila to punish myself. No, like make sure it's angry at yourself in a constructive way. Okay, I fucked up. I'm gonna use my anger to now force myself tomorrow or force myself right after this game to do 20 of those kicks. To do like you make sure that it's productive anger. Make sure it's productive sadness. Make sure it's productive. All your emotions should be productive. Make sure it's productive happiness. Like as long as you always make it so that you're productive with your emotions, then there's nothing wrong with having those emotions. And in fact, those emotions are good for you. So being too hard on yourself, I will call that an emotion. Whether it's good or bad determines on what you do with that emotion. I think it's much worse to have no emotion, to not care if you're not perfect, because that will just lead you to doing nothing instead of making it so that you care massively, but maybe how you've been using that emotion, maybe how you've been channeling that, maybe how you've been caring hasn't been in the best way possible. So instead, I want you to stay hard on yourself, but make sure it's very, very constructive. Make sure it's like, okay, I fucked up there. How can I make sure I never fuck that up ever again? There's nothing wrong with having high standards for yourself. The problem is if you have high standards and if you just beat yourself up when you don't hit it, that's not productive. What you want it to be is high standards and you train even harder, you practice even harder, you use your brain to try and find a solution so that it never happens again because you're hard on yourself. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that gives you kind of my personal opinions on it. But I think the people who care loads, the people who truly care, I think they're much, much better in general than the people who just don't care enough. And caring is a superpower.